This year's New York International Auto Show begins its final weekend here in the city today, and it ends the big auto show season across the nation. Scores of innovative models are on display, but car lovers have yet to see one particular variety of vehicle here or anywhere else. A production automobile with a top speed of over 300 miles per hour. Don Dahler is here with the intense race to make it happen. Don, I hope you have your seatbelt. Good morning.
Good morning. To give you a little perspective, 300 miles per hour is approaching half the speed of sound. It may be hard to imagine what that would feel like behind the wheel of a car. There are 3 companies on the road to finding that out. We visited one headquartered in Texas. This is what Hennessy Performance Engineering is known for: obscene speed, turning hot cars into supercars. And the Exorcist is one of their most popular, a modified Camaro that goes from 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds. Its top speed, 217 miles per hour. But that's not the Texas-based company's fastest model. 5 years ago, founder and CEO John Hennessy set a new record for speed in a production vehicle with his 270-mile-an-hour Venom GT. Tantalizingly close to the magic number. Why is 300 the holy grail?
Well, I think, at some point in time, maybe 100 years ago, there was the first car that could hit 100 miles an hour. And fast forward into the late 90s, what was the first production car that you could go buy that could break 200 miles an hour. And so I think we're now kind of on the cusp. I know we've got a car that's got that capability. Some of the challenges we were talking about earlier.
That car is the Venom F5. I'm fascinated by the fact that you've designed this from the ground up.
We wanted the car, the best performing car that we could build. Very, very driver focused, kind of like a race car.
But focused in terms of it has one purpose, and that is?
To go fast. It
has a 7.6-liter twin-turbo V8 engine, cranking out more than 1,600 horsepower. Designers were told form had to follow function. The car had to weigh less than 3,000 pounds, but look amazing.
I wanted it to have distinctive headlights. I kind of feel like the headlights on a car, kind of like the eyes of a person. And so just come up with some cool headlights, and they came up with kind of an F-shaped for F5 headlight.
But there are other entrants in this race to 300. Famed supercar makers Koenigsegg and Bugatti are also vying to be the first. You're up against some big names.
Sure.
And they have big resources behind them. You don't. You're a single company here.
Right.
You're putting all this financing up yourselves.
Right.
Do you stand a chance?
Oh, I think so. I love being the underdog. I'd much rather be the underdog than the one favored. I don't think that we're going to see a car break 400 miles an hour or break 500 miles an hour. So I kind of feel like a 300 mile an hour production series road car is kind of the automotive Mount Everest.
I started racing when I was 12.
Travis Sokolsky is editor-in-chief of Road and Track magazine. How much of a disadvantage in this race do you think that Texas company is?
Hennessy's company has been known for tuning cars for a very, very long time. They just recently built their own car, the Venom. So building their own car from the ground up the first time ever and claiming that it's going to hit 300 miles an hour is a really, really big challenge.
And what is it that is so challenging about hitting that number?
Where do I start? I mean, first off, tire technology, right? When you go above levels of 250, 260 miles an hour, you're stressing the rubber and the tire and all the compounds and everything. So if something were to come apart and fail at that speed, it would be catastrophic.
Right.
These cars generate an enormous amount of heat. So at those speeds, heat management is huge. If it gets too hot, it can explode. And the final thing that I think is holding back is aerodynamics. When you're driving into the air will act as a wall as it gets faster and faster. So it's either pushing the car into the ground or it's possibly generating lift. And if you keep going faster, the car's going to fly away. So you need the mixture of great aerodynamic packaging, heat packaging, and 1,500 to 1,800 horsepower in order to make this sort of thing happen.
But no less a factor, location, location, location. It takes a lot of straight road to hit 300 miles per hour. Hennessy had access to a runway at Florida's Kennedy Space Center to reach 270 in the Venom GT, but he'll need more than that to reach this goal.
To run 300 miles an hour, we're going to need to have a public highway that we can work with the state, whether it's Texas or Nevada, where we can close the highway to run. But I think with 5 or 6 miles, that's what we need to run 300 and have plenty of room to slow down.
If you look at a map, there's very few places that have that length of road. We're talking 3, 4, 5 mile straights in order to get up to this sort of speed. The problem is when you're on a road, the road has a gradient, right? And it's sloped downward, and then it's bumpy. So it's very unpredictable to do it on a road. So achieving that top speed is going to be very, very, very difficult for wherever they can do it.
Building a car from the ground up that can go that fast is one thing. You'd think finding people to plop down $1.6 million plus to buy one is another. But think again. Hennessy says his first production run of 11 Venom F5s are already spoken for.
It's not something that you're going to take down to the grocery store. It's almost like having a work of art hanging in your house that you can just kind of point to when people come over.
Kind of, but you also have a hell of a speeding ticket to hang with it. It's bespoke craftsmanship. What you're paying for is something that is hand-built that no one else has. And you're paying for the bragging rights. You're paying to have something that is incredible, not just by the standard of automotive, but by the standard of all engineering.
But for John Hennessy, whose love of fast cars started when he was a child, the Venom F5 means more than bragging rights. It means his family name could be considered among the automotive greats.
We talk to our kids that the F5 is our legacy vehicle. It's the vehicle that 50 years from now when I'm gone, that's the vehicle that people would be kind of the pinnacle of the vehicles that we've built.
He has landed some funding from the oil company Pennzoil. They believe in him, and he expects to make an attempt to reach 300 miles per hour later this summer.
I hope he makes it. And I would drive that to the grocery store.
So would I.
Yeah. Proudly, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be a quick trip.
How many of these are out there or will be?
There's just one right now that they're creating. They're actually building them in Europe in part, and the design was there, but they're also putting it together here in Texas.
And we get to follow all of this with you?
Yes, we are going to revisit this when he makes the run later.
How about
behind the wheel.
I would be there. Our wife might not want me to do that, but I would do there. I'd be there.
Hey, do it anyway.
Great stuff.